Ronin.
Welcome to Juice in the Morning, episode 66. This is another episode of Super Second Saturday, and it is me once again with Cam Evans, who I think we've got the sound figured out a little bit, and I'm not going to interrupt him all the time.
I sure hope so.
Let me still adjust you a little bit here so that we can hear you just a little bit better. But once again, this is the once a month episode that we do where we started out with the idea of we're going to break down Marvel movies leading up to the Avengers, the Infinity Wars, but I think this is going to progress into some more wider range of things. But for now, we are still doing the Marvel films leading up to Infinity Wars, and Cam's also just got done seeing a new Marvel film, so let us know a little bit more about that, because everybody should know which one that is.
Just literally got home from Spider-Man Homecoming, and it was the best Spider-Man movie I've seen, like, hands down, I would say.
And you put it up there against the Raimi films as well.
Oh, yeah. I think it's probably – I liked it better. Just overall, it felt a lot more smaller. Like, the scope of it was really small, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I won't go too in depth with my review right now, but yeah,
just
give us definitely really good.
Give us your information.
A lot of complaints leading up to it. Where everyone thinks like, oh, it's Iron Man's in it, he's overshadowing it, dude. He literally was in the movie for like not even 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So the trailers are nothing to go by on that. They actually, there's a scene in the trailer where Iron Man and they're swinging through the city together, or Iron Man's flying and Spider-Man's swinging. That's not even there. That was all
so they cut that
promotional shot. Yeah, it was just a promotional shot for the trailers. So, yeah, it was really good. They killed it. Spider-Man, Peter Parker.
Do you think people are going to be
really good?
Do you think people are going to be upset if that scene's not in there?
I hope not. That'd be really dumb. It doesn't really make sense in the movie anyway. So, yeah, it was really good. I'd give it like 10 out of 10 for a Spider-Man film for
nice.
Sure.
So, how did you feel about the villains that were in it? You don't have to like reveal too much about it, but I felt like that they were kind of taking that route that Marvel's gone with, which is they're still kind of realistic, but they've got some outlandish features, but they're kind of grounded in reality.
I think this one actually is probably up, top 3 best Marvel villains, I would say, just because this movie actually kind of, it starts off in the Avengers movie, which we're about to review, in the wreckage of that, and then it jumps ahead 8 years.
Oh, that's awesome!
I think this one actually I think this one is like a glue that kind of brings all of them together.
That's freaking sweet.
Which is really cool, and like all the villains, like all their tech and stuff is from the Avengers battles, like all the shit that they leave. Mm-hmm. That's like a plot point in it that Tony Stark's company now is in control of cleaning up the mess, and they're like, oh, he makes the mess and then he gets paid to clean it up. That's really,
that's
like
pretty
fucked up.
That's pretty sweet that they took that angle too. And I like that idea, and without ruining too much of it, but that's pretty sweet. And I haven't seen it yet, so I'm like really stoked to get in the theater and see it. But I've got a pretty busy weekend ahead of me. But so you said that it was better than any of the other Spider-Man films. What do you see for the future of the franchise? Are they going to continue to make standalone Spider-Man films, or is he going to be kind of like? I
mean, they're planning on making 5, I believe, of just Spider-Man, and then he's obviously going to be in Avengers 3 and 4 coming out soon. Yeah, and supposedly in Spider-Man 2, another one of the Avengers characters is going to be in it, so that'll be
that's awesome.
Pretty sweet. Like, there's a lot of debates wondering who it'll be. I hope it's one of the smaller people, like Black Widow or Hawkeye, or even Ant-Man would be kind of cool. The 2 bug bros,
Yeah. Well, what is it? Ant-Man's he's a bug, or is it a cephalopod or something? So
yeah,
he's not an arachnid. But no, I think that would be sweet, and I really love that they are almost taking like a comic book approach to the films, like where everybody's kind of crossing over into each other's worlds, which I think is like uncharted territory that we haven't seen on film. Like, we've seen it a shit ton in the comics, but we haven't seen it like actually on.
It's finally that they all can actually interact, and yeah, exactly. Like, I just hate how so many people like bitch and complain. They're like, Spider-Man, we've been begging for Spider-Man to show up in an Avengers movie. He's finally in, the Marvel films. And then people started complaining that Iron Man was in it. I'm like, why are you complaining? Like, we've been fucking asking for this for years and years and years. And now it's finally happening, and it's, too much. But I love it. I'm really, I'm glad that everything worked out with Marvel Studios becoming what they are today. I'm really hoping that Warner Brothers and DC characters are up there too, which, I mean, they're on their way now, but
yeah,
I just hope they're as good.
You are a fan of DC as well. I know that because you're a Batman fan. But we'll get into those at a different time, and hopefully they're all good.
So we can just skip everything before Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the Justice League movie is good. It looks like there's some good bits and pieces from the trailers and things like that, but I'm not super sure about it. But we'll get there. We'll see. And I also
Joss Whedon will fix it.
And I really do. I think you were the one maybe that said that you appreciate the Ben Affleck as the Batman, and I definitely do. I think he did a good job. I don't think it was terrible.
Yeah, I think he's awesome.
And a lot of people weren't.
I love his portrayal.
Weren't a huge fan of it, but I enjoyed it, and I thought it was good. So back to the original idea of this show, though. Let's talk about the Avengers. It was. Let me look, or unless you know off the top of your head, what year was the Avengers?
2012.
2012. So that was a big year for film, though, wasn't it? Like there was like a lot of stuff coming out at the same time.
Oh yeah, it was a big summer that year.
And but I remember
the world was ending.
I do remember specifically, though. I think I may have talked about this before on the podcast already, but going into Avengers, like I didn't really know what I was going into, but I was like super excited. That was one of the ones I saw the day it came out, and I remember that it was that feeling of like leaving the movie and being like, holy shit, that was awesome. Like I can't wait to watch it again so I can figure out the parts that I like, the lines that I like, the stuff that stuck out to me.
Right.
One of the biggest things that stuck out to me from the very beginning was just the relationship between Thor and Hulk, which was hilarious. Like where they were like fighting each other, but then like they're fighting on the same team, but then Hulk like still like smashes him like across the room or something. It's like it was just awesome.
I remember that moment when he punches them after they take down the big flying thing, whatever they're
big
called.
Giant worm.
I just died so hard. Like I was like, man, that's straight up ripped out of a comic page. Just Hulk just like punched him like just an asshole move. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. You know. Like,
and
it was their fist bump. It was a godly fist bump.
And I loved it because, like you just said, I literally laughed out loud at that point in the movie. Like, just lost it. It was good, and it's good that Marvel does that. I have started to hear people in the Twitter like. On Twitter,
Twitterverse,
yeah, on Twitter, that are like kind of like so-called experts in like nerdy stuff, and they're talking about how Marvel is getting stale to them. Is that coming across to anybody else in like the people that you follow, the things that you follow, and the like your interest in the films?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a big, I guess you could say I'm a nerdy blogger too, but all the conversations and people that I am involved with and see. Some say superhero fatigue. I don't think so yet, and I don't think that's happening yet.
Yeah.
Because lately there's not really any superhero movies that suck.
Yeah.
I mean, Suicide Squad. Besides that, but I mean overall, I'm talking like successfully, like they all are making a shitload of money. They're all warranting sequels and spin-offs. Like, I mean, all jokes aside, Suicide Squad was, okay for what it was, but it wasn't by any means a great movie. But it's the characters involved. They're talking about Harley Quinn's going to get her own movie. A Suicide Squad sequel is going to come out. They're even talking about maybe like a Deadshot movie with Will Smith in it.
Yeah.
So they're not failing. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. I think leading up to Avengers Infinity War, which is going to be like fucking huge.
Yeah.
I think Marvel, they're definitely talking about like changing the pace of it, because a lot of the actors are going to be disappearing, but they're going to change it so that way superhero movies will, not get boring or not get
that's what that's
down.
The point that I always want to make to those people that say that is the fact that clearly if these people are saying that, the people making these movies that have been doing such a badass job for like the last almost 10 years, almost 20 years, not 20 years.
I mean, since the first X-Men, if you want to think about it,
like almost 15 years or whatever, and they clearly they've got their ear to the crowd, and they're listening to what we say. And if people are constantly saying that the villains aren't that interesting because it's just like a mass of just like robots like Ultron, and in Avengers the first one it was all the Chitauri army or whatever, and they were kind of faceless guys that are just getting beat up the whole time. Like clearly the studio's listening to that, and I think that's gonna change. Like I think they're still gonna have some like minor enemies, but I think for the most part, like they're gonna start having some like really big villains and some things that we don't expect. And then for the smaller level ones, like you were talking about, I think they're gonna have more realistic things. Not realistic, that's the wrong word. Like kind of like Ant-Man, where it was like
grounded. It was
really small. Like their battle didn't affect like the whole entire world, like with Ant-Man and the guy that he was fighting. So
that's why I really enjoyed the new Spider-Man too, just because it felt very, it was all focused almost on Spider-Man's story. It wasn't like, like some of the past Spider-Man films where blah, blah, blah is going to blow up and kill the whole city of New York. It really wasn't really like that. It was just more of a personal story.
Yeah.
And a personal battle, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. So with the Avengers, I always take notes and ask stupid questions. So I wanted to ask you some of these questions that, pop up because I consider you my like expert on, Marvel stuff and the movies and things like that. So you remember when we talked about Dr. Selvig being influenced by Loki at the end of the movie in like that teaser trailer? So I think that my theory is backed up by the beginning of this Avengers, which is I think Loki was in a different, like he was in a realm, but he could see that if he could get a hold of Dr. Selvig, he could influence him. But I don't think he was right at that moment, because as soon as he came out of that portal, he like tapped him on the chest and like took over him, or like,
and that's when he gave him the mind control.
Yeah, and like brainwashed him. So I think that the end was cool, where they showed him, but I also don't know if they were just trying to like foreshadow stuff and he wasn't like actually in control of him at the time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think that's like the one after credit scene that they kind of retconned and just kind of changed up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, I guess it could make sense that he was always under the control, but then just his character wouldn't have acted like that. Or,
exactly.
Been worried about the Tesseract.
Yeah.
Before Loki took control.
And the big thing that, just to the overall like arcing beginning of this Avengers movie, like to me, it was the perfect opening, like action sequence to have him to Loki coming out looking like deathly and scary and like crazy like that. And then you get reintroduced to like all of the characters and you kind of see where they're at in the world. And like,
and it was all kind of one at a time. And I love that.
That was such a perfect opening sequence. Like, once we get to the Avengers Ultron, like I think they did a very good opening to that because we did. That was a dog right there, guys. So
sorry. Yeah. My dog's
it's okay.
Going on outside. Remy, come here.
It's all right. It's all right. It adds character. But it was like, it was the perfect opening sequence. You got to get reintroduced to the characters you liked in some of the other films. And then you got like a little bit deeper with like Romanov and who else did
Hawkeye.
We know? Yep. And then even
he kind of got robbed in that movie, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, it was but he turned it around and it became awesome. Like towards the end in the middle. But then that's also the first time we see Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. And, one of the things that I saw right from the beginning was, at least in my mind, was the fact that Ruffalo was like kind of portraying him in a very similar light that Norton did, but he almost had a I'm trying to think of the words. He had a more confident, I feel like, approach to it, in like where he scares Romanov, like he like, you know, stop lying to me, and like yells at her like he's getting angry, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. That was mean." Like I felt like he was like a lot more confident than Norton's character, and I just thought that was an interesting way they went about doing it, or his his personal choice.
And they definitely. I mean, Incredible Hulk 1 is still technically canon. So, you know, in the end, when the shot of Edward Norton sitting, you know, meditating or whatever, and it's like days since incident, it goes down to 0 and his eyes turn green, he smiles. I think that was representing, like, I can control him now.
Yeah.
So they kept that characteristic, you know, even though they recast the character.
Mm-hmm.
So Ruffalo's kind of, you know, more confident and in control finally.
Yeah.
Which they've never really shown in the movies until Avengers 1, which is sweet.
Yeah.
Because you want him to be the good guy for sure.
Yeah. And I remember somebody, after watching it, like, you know, one of my favorite lines from the whole movie when I first walked out of the film was, you know, that's the secret, like I'm always angry or something like that, and he like transforms into the Hulk. Like I loved it, but then somebody I knew brought up a really good point and was like, so then why couldn't he control it when like he got like knocked through the plane or something like that, or there was like the explosion on the helicarrier, like they're like, then he should have been able to control it then or whatever. And I kind of like thought about it for a second. I was like, that's kind of a good point, because, you know, if he can completely control who he's attacking in that you know, fight in New York scene or whatever, he should have been able to control it at the helicarrier type thing too.
Well, I think, yeah, but that was a different, I guess, situation, because it was like high stress and he was getting shot at, or how did Black Widow and him fall down again? Something
like there was like an explosion, or I think Hawkeye like, you know, shoots his arrow and it blows up one of the engines or whatever, and so they fall through the floor. But
that's a good theory, though, I guess. I actually sort of forgot about that part, but they were just trying to like.
But then now I literally just got like almost like a spider sense, like a tingling spider sense, because like I just thought of this when he was this the first one when he's falling and he lands, and the guy that like saw him fall said that like you aimed for this spot where it was like nobody was at, so maybe that gave him like the mindset that like maybe I can like control what I'm doing even when
we can be kind of friends about it.
Yeah. So that just gave me like a little bit of like happiness that I noticed that.
Right.
And I just thought about it live on the podcast, so that's awesome.
He's like, I love that part too, because it really tells a lot about the character of Bruce Banner Hulk when he goes, are you a little guy who turns big or a big guy who turns little? And he's like, I still don't know, or something like that. Or just, you know, I'm not sure either, which is really deep if you think about it.
So the other thing that I think we've talked about a bunch, but I always still forget, and I like to bring it up because she's a big part in all of these first phase films, which is Pepper Potts. Like, did she like just in the contract department? Like, did they just kind of like end her run, or like what? I mean, I don't even know what happened, because
she hasn't really been in them since.
She's in Iron Man 3, and then then
nothing after that.
Nothing.
Well,
after
she was in the new Spider-Man, so you're all right.
so there must have just
been back.
Yeah, there must have just. Thanks, I appreciate that. I hope that didn't ruin it. I hope that didn't ruin it for anybody that's a huge Pepper Potts fan.
Right. She's not dead. No, she actually she was supposed to be in Civil War. I don't remember. I read it somewhere because everyone was like, did they not renew her contract or something? Because she had a big ass contract, because hers were all small enough to where she could do like 2 of them in 1 year. It would take like a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think she must have had some other stuff going on.
Or she might have just been working somewhere else or doing something else.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So
they just didn't need her in the films after that.
Those of you that are huge Pepper Potts fans, she's back and she's alive.
Gwyneth Paltrow is still there.
She doesn't look too bad either. So,
oh yeah.
One of my last questions that are just kind of the random questions before we kind of still talk more about how much we liked or disliked the movie is, can Loki travel at will between worlds, or was it a projection? So like when he goes to talk to like the people on the other side of like the portal,
to Thanos.
Yeah, is he like physically traveling there, or is he like projecting?
No, they
didn't really explain it.
Of the Mind Stone.
Okay.
Because
kind of like an astral projection.
Like when he kind of comes back, you can see the Tesseract like glow.
Yeah.
Or not the Tesseract, the scepter like glow, and he's like back there. I think. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so I think it is like a projection. Okay, so then I want to say that the battle scene in New York was probably one of my favorites out of all of the movies. I liked Captain America and like Black Widow's roles and all those people. I still get like let down a little bit because I love Captain America. He's my favorite. But in that movie, I feel like he was kind of just on the ground the whole time. And he did do a lot like to help, but like it felt like he was kind of like, we don't really care about it. Like, the Hulk and Iron Man and Thor were the ones just really like kind of kicking ass that whole time, as well as Hawkeye.
Right. I mean, they're definitely the heavy hitters in that situation.
Yeah, and I hate it. I hate it. I wish Captain America had like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like what I could add to him to make him more badass.
Bulletproof skin or something.
Yeah, something ridiculous. But I was let down a little bit by that because I am a huge Captain America fan, and we are just coming off of that movie. And then I think what I want to say also was the second or the first funniest scene after the punch in the face by Hulk to Thor was Loki and like yelling at the Hulk or whatever, and then the Hulk just like grabs him and slams him all over the ground, and then like walks away and knocks
his ass out.
Calls him like a puny god or something like that. That made me laugh out loud the hardest at that movie. Because it's just
that was a crowd pleaser moment.
It was pretty awesome. And then at the end when they're all like standing there and Loki looks at him and says, "I'll take that drink now," or "What about that drink?" or something like that.
Yeah.
But I would say the Avengers as a whole, I loved the music, especially the beginning, and then throughout the film, I think that just the whole arc of everything was perfect to me, and it moved at a good pace. It wasn't too long. It was. I would say by far, I always say this, I think every time we watch a new one, but it is by far my favorite out of the Marvel films so far.
Avengers 1, nice.
Yep.
Yeah,
and I would say
it's definitely been my favorite like team up film. I still think so, actually. Just from like a good movie perspective. Mm-hmm. It was just such a happy moment when that movie came out for me.
I know.
It was just all of them together. I loved the interactions that they all had. When they slowly kind of met up. I kind of liked how they met up kind of like in pairs almost.
Yeah.
Small groups.
I didn't really think about that
they
until
were all together.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
They definitely nailed. Joss Whedon's a really good writer, and he nails characters. And I think his relationship building that he did in that movie was just so spot on. He had everybody's attitudes perfect. He had everybody's, little quips that they would say to each other, like Thor when they're all talking. He's like, "You're all so tiny," or what's he say? He's like, "You're all so petty," or something like that. And
you're all so petty or something like that, and so tiny.
Yeah.
And I even think like some of the the lines that I feel like delivered in any other way or in any other movie would have been cheesy. Like, and I know that they're kind of going for that, but it's like they do such a good job of not making it come off as like too cheesy or too campy, like, and too like ridiculous, like the stuff they say.
Right. That's
like,
what I mean by like just everything. It all feels natural too to like that world that could exist.
And even like, for example, Tony Stark, like kind of being the one to like kind of the wild card almost, just because he feels that he's smarter and knows everything way more than everybody else, and knows what's going on way more than everybody else. And it's kind of awesome. I like to see Captain America figure out what's going on kind of simultaneously at the same time as Tony Stark, but just in a different way. It kind of shows like how they kind of are on the same page, even though they disagree so much.
Right. And it's definitely, Tony was trying to, he is definitely like a know-it-all and everything. And now all of a sudden we're dealing with aliens in space, and he absolutely knows nothing about it.
Yeah.
And then Captain America's all, he just woke up. He's, still in the 30s or whatever.
So
or I guess 40s.
So I would say Avengers, the first one, I'm going to give a 9.7. So I don't know what the hell I gave to other movies, but so far it's a 9.7. And the only reason it's not perfect is because I can't say that I've seen a perfect one yet, because I haven't seen everything yet. So I don't know. We're not through this era of comic book movies and seeing these films. So, we have no idea where it's going to go. Maybe 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about whatever movie we've seen recently and be like, God damn, it's a 10.5 out of 11 or something. Like, we can't even do a 10-point scale because it was better than that. So I just want to set that precedent. So it's 9.7 for me. And
say by the time the 5th Spider-Man movie comes out,
yeah, it can be like a 9.76235778.
Right, there you go.
But what would you say your favorite parts or least favorite parts of the Avengers was?
Definitely the one shot when they're all, circled up, ready to start the battle. That was definitely a fanboy orgasm moment for me. Oh shit, they're all on the same screen together. Like, that was just like so much joy was through my body when that happened.
I love it.
The whole battle, yeah.
Probably got like a chub.
Oh yeah, full on rager, dude. Just my date at the time was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "Don't worry about it."
We'll talk about it later.
All the blood's rushing to my other head, But no, I'm kidding. But no, I definitely think it's definitely. I would give it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I like
loved it.
I like that rating, and I think that one of the best things about this is this and you and I talking about these things is going to keep going, and I think it's awesome to share this with people, and I hope that people start interacting more a little bit and talking with us. I think when like I've said, when I hope that you get back to Indiana and you're in the studio, we can do more like Facebook Live stuff and answer questions. Right now
Oh yeah, we'll definitely take this to the next level when I get there, dude.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with the technology. Everybody knows that I'm learning this day by day, step by step. So this is a work in progress still, but I think it's I think it's going well, and I think what's the next film that we're going to be looking at? Is it Iron Man 3?
Iron Man 3 is next. Yep.
And I want to say that Iron Man 3 I thought was awesome, just to see Tony Stark struggle, even though I've always made it a huge point that I hate when my superheroes struggle. I like to see them badass and kicking ass, but it's also cool to kind of see that psychological struggle as well.
Right, for sure.
So I'm excited.
And the physical struggle too,
Yeah, I'm excited to see that one and rewatch it, and because that's another one that I think I've only watched like one time. I don't think I've watched it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think I've watched it a bunch of times. So I'm pumped about that. Anyways, do you have anything specific that you want to throw out there before we wrap this up?
Go see Homecoming. It's really awesome.
Pepper Potts is back.
Oh yeah, and her beautiful butt.
And once again, you thought that it was awesome, and definitely everybody should go see it.
I loved it. I think, yeah, it was just really, really well made, and a lot of really cool, comic book nerdy Easter eggs, which we can we'll definitely talk about next month.
Yep,
That way
absolutely.
everybody has a chance.
Because I'll see it, and we'll spoil the shit out of it if people haven't seen it in a
I'm
month.
going to spoil fucking everything.
So you better fucking see it within the next month, because we're going to be talking about it next time. But once again, thank you for listening. This has been another episode of Super Second Saturday with me and Cam Evans, the co-host of Super Second Saturday, and eventually a producer / co-host on the podcast whenever he gets to Indiana.
Working there.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Take care, guys.
And see Spider-Man Homecoming.
Juice in the morning.